Hello, my name's Mr. Fitzpatrick and I'm the head of the technology faculty at St Hilda's. I'm here today to talk about the GCSE design and technology option that we study at St Hilda's. Okay, let's get going. So, why should I study DT? Design technology provides options to people. It opens doors into so many careers, and they could be fashion, product design, graphics, architecture, games design, footwear design, engineering. I put these on the list because I know people who've studied design technology that have gone into careers in these industries. Design technology opens the mind to the concept of iterative thinking, whereby we're looking for constant improvement. And this is an excellent disposition, a habit to have in life in general. And just something to reassure parents as well, 75% of the engineers at the James Dyson Company studied design technology at GCSE. This is the type of thing that leads to jobs. Employers look for the skills that design and technology provides. Beyond that, for students, it's an enjoyable subject. This is the type of thing where you can take these skills from DT into life. Okay? And there are other reasons which we'll go through as I move through the PowerPoint. So, what do I study and where do I need to focus? Okay? DT is broken up into 3 different core principles, okay? We have our core technical principles, whereby we look at new and emerging technologies, we look at how we generate and store energy, how we develop and how new materials are developing around us, how we use systems to help our approach to designing, we look at mechanical devices, and this is where we start to get into materials and their working properties, and then give us an understanding of how we can then use that further down the line when we start designing. Our second focus is specialist technical principles. And this is quite expansive in this. And this is where we start to really dig into those material areas where we're looking at papers and boards, timbers, metals, polymers, plastics as we know them, textiles, and electronic and mechanical systems. And for each of them, we start to look at why we would use those materials for different jobs, how they respond to different forces and stresses, start to think about the ecological and social footprints, about where they come from, how we get them, how we use and work with them, how we buy them from shops or from manufacturers in their stock forms, how we can produce at scale with them, whether we're doing one-off items or mass producing, and start to look at the specialist techniques and processes and surface treatments and finishes of how we can start to make these materials into something really special. Okay. So our third focus is designing and making principles, and this is where we start to look at the design process and start to think how we can apply the theory of design into actually doing it and putting it into practice. So we start with our research, looking at other people's work, thinking about the world around us, with the environment, the social factors of design, and the economic challenge it provides. We try to make sure that we engender this sense of being a really morally responsible designer at St Hilda's. You know, it's our responsibility as designers to look after the planet around us, and that's something we really try to engender into our students here. We look at design communication techniques, how we can start to develop prototypes, and then coming back into materials and looking at tools and how we can start to use these things to turn our ideas in our heads, get them out of our heads onto the page, and then start to think how we can make them into a reality in terms of a prototype in front of us. So, how does it work? We use the exam board AQA for design technology, and they break down the GCSE into 2 units, of which there is a 50-50 split in terms of the weighting. Each is as important as the other when it comes to your final grade. So the first is assessed by an exam, a 2-hour exam at the end of year 11, and that's where what we've discussed already, those different 3 focuses in terms of the core, specialist, and design and making principles are examined. And you can see there's the mark breakdown if you want to pause the video and have a quick look at that. And then we move on to what I think people associate more traditionally with design technology, which is the non-examined assessment or the coursework side of things. Now, this is representative of 30 to 35 hours work, but it's also representative of the years of study before them. This is where everything we've learned in DT comes to fruition, and we start to have what we call a substantial design and make task, where we will get our brief probably in the June of year 10, and we'll go through the assessment criteria there, which is how we grade our portfolio. And we do the portfolio is really valuable as the type of thing you can take to interviews, to applications to university, or anything of this kind of thing to show your evidence of what you can do and what you have done. I know people who've gone on to apprenticeships have been able to use this. I know people who've gone to university have used this at really reputable establishments, have used their folders as evidence to support and show what they can do. This opportunity to shine and show their achievements that they've evidenced in their learning, and the folders are a really great way to do that. And as you can see, there's a mark breakdown if you want to pause the video and have a quick look at that. Okay. So, what are the common misconceptions of DT? Design technology. Do I have to be able to draw? A lot of people are concerned about that. No, you don't have to be able to draw. Do I have to be arty? No, and this ties into do you have to be able to draw? A lot of people are under the misconception rather, that if you are not arty, you cannot draw. However, in DT, we can absolutely show you different methods and styles of drawing. Some people, it's an art-based thing, but there is actually specific styles of drawing that we can teach you, and it's methodical, and with practice, you can absolutely learn how to draw. One of my most frustrating misconceptions is people think that it's a boys' subject. Women going into engineering at the moment are pretty much able to name their salaries. There are companies offering women fully paid maternity leave because people are so desperate for the really valid contribution and valuable contribution that women made that's been overlooked for so long. I can't encourage young girls and students in making their options enough to consider DT because the world's their oyster. Maths and applying sciences and into the real world, it's just the opportunities are so huge for you. DT brings all these things together. I'd really hope that girls would consider DT is definitely a real path for them. Another thing that we worry about is that people think we just making things. As you can see, I've just been through the content of the course there. DT is an academic subject. It's not just about making. The reality is, even though it takes up a lot of time when we get to it and we need to make sure we have those skills, the actual making mark for your final GCSE is roughly 25% of the overall GCSE. The rest of it is very much for the exam and academic study and practice. And it does lean towards students who enjoy practical activities and feel that's the best way for them to show how they learn. And we find different ways to support people who are either some people aren't great with drawing but are great with CAD. Some people aren't great with CAD but are great with making. And we try to make sure that we adapt things to fit into how people are able to show off their own skills. But it's not just about making things. And I don't want to mislead people into thinking that all they're going to do for 2 years in GCSE is just make things. There is a lot of study to go into it because designing is something that takes a lot of practice and a lot of learning, and it also at the same time is a lot of fun. Every now and then we get comments about, well, it's not a real subject or it's not an important subject. Where would the world be without well-designed products? How many of us have beautiful examples of design throughout our daily lives, whether it be our phones, whether it be our cars, whether it be our toothbrushes, our shampoo bottles, our kitchens, our houses. There are so many reasons why design and being able to apply that into real life to solve problems is so important, especially at the moment as we look to a future which is a bit uncertain. The people that are going to help us get through this are going to be those who understand the problems and have those skills to find solutions. And DT is the subject that really does engender that ability to be able to find solutions to real life problems. So, what's our unique selling points beyond what I've told you already? We are exploring, once travel restrictions lift, some kind of European trip to some design museums. One thing we do and have done every year apart from last year for obvious reasons is a trip to the Jaguar Land Rover factory, where you can see the Evoke and the Freelander 2 being made. And this is where we get to see a lot of the theoretical side of the scale of production, industrial production, firsthand. And it's also a type of thing where realistically, some people in our school could go on to get jobs there. Jaguar Land Rover do an awful lot of really good apprenticeship courses. They fund people through degrees, through master's courses. I know people who are working for them who have travelled the world working for them. It provides you with so many options, and just getting that idea of what industrial production actually looks like and what, you know, top end design really looks like. It's such an inspirational trip, and I've been at it how many times myself, and I'm still in awe when I go every time. And then one of the things we look at is the Arkwright Scholarship. So what is an Arkwright Scholarship? It's essentially where they're trying to find, an organisation trying to find the country's future leaders of engineering. So the idea is to give people a real boost, and whether that's financial or whether that's with being able to support people with work experience, support with your curriculum project, or some kind of personal mentor who can help you as you move through your A levels. So once we come to the end of GCSE, we would be looking to get people applying for the Arkwright Scholarship. And that would be a real impressive thing for people to have on their CV, especially if applying to university and trying to find employment beyond. So, as you see here, there you might want to pause it and have a quick look at the what makes you eligible to apply in terms of the best and the brightest students. But best and brightest doesn't always apply in the way that we're thinking, okay? So you would apply at the end of year 11, and we would look to support beyond that. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for considering DT for options at GCSE. I really appreciate the time that you've taken today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. That's jfitzpatrick@st-hilders.co.uk. If you have any questions or anything I can help with at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I welcome your questions and welcome you in picking DT for GCSE. Thank you very much.